you know what? So let's just say I've done 500 podcast episodes, right? Probably 5. If you added in the stuff with Porky, I'm somewhere close to 600. Those are Gareth Barry numbers for the record. So I've done a lot. On the internet, there are hours and hours of me talking boxing. And the one promise I made to everyone was I would speak as truthfully about my own situations in boxing as I do about other people's situations, because otherwise it wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be fair for me to come here and record when Daniel Dubois beats Anthony Joshua and then not show up when things that I'm emotionally invested in don't go as planned. It just wouldn't be fair. And there are people who would understand if I didn't show up, if I just didn't record for a month or so, whatever. Maybe not that much. But tonight was rough. And you can tell right now that I'm still hurting, but when someone you saw walk into the gym for the first time, barely passed their GCSEs, probably not even past the GCSEs, and you've watched them do that, and you've watched them learn to box, and you've watched them lose and come back and win multiple titles and build a name for themselves, build self-esteem, respect, and a loyal support base based on being a good human being. And you've watched the same person become a father, and a loving, doting father committed to his child, and you've seen all of these things. You feel differently about them when they step in the ring than the typical fan does. You just do, right? And some of it's rational, some of it's irrational. But a lot of the bonds we have with people are irrational. They don't make sense. I mean, they just don't, right? And that's one of the beauties of being human beings. You don't know who you're going to connect with until you connect. So watching Courtney lose to Nick Webb tonight for the Southern Area title, live on TNT Sports, as I said in the previous episode. So all of you would have tuned in and seen that. And I'll say this, there's no one I want to talk to this about. No. So anyone that wants to message me about this, please don't. If you want to say anything negative, you'll just get blocked. Even if we're cool, you'll get blocked, because that's the request right now. Not about being a sore loser, but it's about the path forward. And if no one's contributing to the path forward, what are we really talking about? You know, apart from celebrating someone's downfall who you don't even really know. But if we roll back, and I'll tell you why I'm conflicted here. So if we roll back to when this fight was first made, it was meant to be Warren Boxing Management show at your call. It would have been on Box Nation, so it would have had a viewership of some scale, right? But it would have been a Box Nation show, and you know, people kind of take or leave those shows, and it's like there's a different feel to that. It's a different context. You understand that there are people on there who are working their way up the ladder. So at this point, Courtney's got 5 fights. Remember, there's 5 fights, 2 of them against the same person. Okay? Stepping straight into a 10-rounder. Now, the first question you're going to ask is, why would you do that? Right? And it's a sensible question. Why would you do that? And there could be 100 different answers. If it was me thinking out loud, I'd say, maybe you didn't have to sell tickets. You know, once that thing got bumped to TNT, do you really have to sell tickets if there's a production budget behind it? Probably not. You know what I mean? And there are all sorts of other reasons it's good to be seen on TNT. Had Courts won, that would have been a massive accelerator for his career. You know? But you're rolling the dice because this is Nick Webb. This is Nick Webb. Like, if there had been no Joe Joyce, Nick Webb would have been banging the door for the 2016 Olympics. Right? Because in that post-Joshua era, it was Nick Webb, Declan Fusco, I can never say his name properly, Josh Quayle, all of these guys. John Pilato was in that mix as well. And Joe kind of moved past all of them. But had Joe not been there, Nick Webb would have been the guy pushing for 2016. Nick's not a mug. And people look at his record and they'll look at the 3 losses against, I think it's Wardley, Sokolowski, and Dave Allen. And they'll go, he's no good anyway. But, you know, those defeats require some understanding. But Nick Webb is Nick Webb. He's a big guy, by the way. When you stand in front of Nick Webb, the guy is huge. Like, don't underestimate how big some of these heavyweights are. Jesus, like, careful what you tweet about them. So we come back to why you'd make that fight. You'd roll the dice and go, have we caught him at the right time? Has he been inactive? Can we catch him with a quick, quick first round, 2-round demolition job? Can we do that? These are all questions. Now, remember, I'm talking about this looking forward. You guys are going to be hearing this from the context of we already know the result and working backwards. So we're going to see it differently. So the fight's made, and I'm not there to go, oh, you can't take it. I'm just like, okay, cool. What does it take to win a fight like this, right? And there's some things you've got to do. Number one, if he's been out the ring a long time, you want to make him work, okay? So fitness is everything. Like, you've got to have a ridiculous amount of stamina, physical and mental. That's two things. One, your body's got to be able to move consistently for 3 minutes over 10 rounds. The second thing is you've got to have the mental stamina to go, I'm going to try this. Oh, that didn't work. I'm going to try that without increasing your stress levels. Just going, I'm going to keep testing different things on this guy until I find what works. Then I'm going to stick to that until it doesn't work, and I want to experiment again. The boxers who are able to do that, right, instinctively, tend to be the guys that have better stamina. So these are all the things that you're thinking about. The very simple ideas. And then, obviously, I've got bills to pay, I've got bills to pay. So I'm not in camp. So I don't really, I can't say anything about what happened in camp. I can just say, you're heading into fight night. And if you notice, I never said too much about this fight. I always felt it was risky because when you watch Nick Webb, you can see that he's not a mug. The record he has is a respectable record, and he's got that gatekeeper reputation. Like, if you're not on your game, Nick Webb will get you. So people will say, look, Nick didn't fight anyone between the Wardley fight and this fight. Out the ring for, wasn't 3 years? And, that's to ignore the fact that I don't think he'd been out the gym. So he had spent time in the gym, he stayed active. You can tell that he was sharper than someone who's been inactive for 3 years should have been. But I just want to give some context. Nick Webb went through something similar, right? In his sixth fight, this was Courtney's sixth fight, Nick Webb fought Harry Miles, okay? In a 4-rounder, and this was on the David Haye Cobra undercard. And Harry Miles beat him. The argument has always been that Harry beat him easily, outworked him, out-hustled him, beat him. But Nick Webb got the decision, right? That was his wake-up call. Because he could have lost that night and that would have derailed his whole career. Nick Webb didn't fight a 10-rounder until 3 years after his debut. And who was that 10-rounder against? Dave Allen. And look at what happened in that 10-rounder. Dave pulled him into deep water. Why? Because Dave had been in with far more seasoned guys. Dave had been in with who? Dillian, Lenroy Thomas. Who else had he been in with? Luis Ortiz, I think. God, remember that. So he's been in with all of these guys. And remember, he had taken that shellacking of Tony Yoka. And what I'm saying is, this experience feeds into one fighter. That fighter goes in with someone else, and they feed off some of that experience too. And so Nick, at 37 years old, is a seasoned operator at that British and below level. Right? We can all agree on that. At that kind of level, Nick's a seasoned operator. He'll win some, he'll lose some, depending on who he's up against. And so Courtney rolled the dice, right? And I said all of that to frame fight night. Now, things may come to light afterwards. I don't know. I'm talking literally straight through the door. I've had probably half a liter of lemonade, and that's probably it. So I'm just kind of working off what I have. I've had 2 bags of Haribo and some lemonade. So on fight night, we already know that this is a risky fight. You're not the favorite in this fight because power, even if we say is equal, cool. Experience, Nick. And it's kind of that nous in the ring. You got to give to Nick as well. And so from Courtney's side, you have to do something Nick kind of prepared for. And that's very hard to do against someone who's seen so many different styles. Dave Allen, Kamil Sokolowski, Fabio Wardley, Eric Pfeffer, I think that was his name, or Pfeiffer. He probably boxed Tom Dallas at some point, Harry Miles, etc. Right? You got to show him something he hasn't seen before. And at 37, that's going to be pretty hard. Bearing in mind that this is a guy that does rounds with guys like, I think he's done rounds with Dubois, he's done rounds with Tommy Welsh, top guy. He's done rounds with Big Joe, if you already know who Big Joe is. Nick's done rounds with everyone. He's been doing rounds in the Ben Davison camp as well. So he's been getting good work. He's not really out the gym. And from the first round, you could see that it might be a bit of a struggle for Courtney. He was doing well, but I was watching it, and the first 3 rounds, I thought he was doing more than he needed to do on some things and less of what he needed to do on other things. So wasn't throwing the jab enough. And sometimes you've just got to put the jab in the way to discourage the right hand. And keep it really simple. You know Nick's a big right hand, left hook guy. So you keep the guard high, and then it's just about working your hips, keeping loose, and just firing that jab out, doubling that jab behind your feet, bang, bang, shut the distance down, push him to the ropes. Now you can work because he hasn't got time to step back and create traps and that sort of thing. That's what you're really trying to do. You just push him back like Wardley was doing, right? Just prove you're the bigger, stronger kid in there. Youth over everything. So there wasn't enough of the jab. It wasn't enough combination punching. Someone like Nick, you got to create openings by making him move his arms and getting arms out the way and finding where those openings are. There wasn't enough of that. And so I was always going to make the fight hard because it meant that Nick could fight at a pace he was comfortable with. I have no idea if Nick is fit for 10 rounds, but he was fit enough that night to do what he had to do. And so for the first 3 rounds, you're looking at Courtney going, if he can keep this up, he can win this. And then you get to rounds 4, 5, and 6, and Nick starts to do what an experienced pro does. He's gone, I'm still in this fight. And I think he's hit me with his best shots. There isn't going to be anything else. And so Nick started to go, right, my turn. And so Nick he'd just use shots to disrupt. Tie him up, just veteran moves, like low economy, high reward moves, right? So those 3 rounds up to round 6, that's what he was doing. And what it was doing was it was slowly tiring Courtney out. Because, of course, he's like, damn, I'll go do 10 rounds. And remember, there's no gradation up. It's like, just do 10 rounds. And I know people say he's a top amateurs, GB. Yeah, but you still got to condition yourself mentally to do these things. And that's why you see people with the records they've got. So what I would say then on top of that is when you're doing that, and look at it from a Nick Webb perspective, Nick was just like, if I can make the water deep enough, I'm going to find out if he can swim. And by round 6, he had made the water deep enough. And he was like, I don't think he can swim. And so Nick started to just turn it up. And there were big shots going in there. Be absolutely clear how tough Courtney is. There were big shots going in that round 7. And there were people who were arguing at that point, just stop the fight, right? Just stop the fight. But we're 6 days hence from the Ben Whittaker quit thing, right? So who really wants to assume that mantle? No one. So, of course, carries on. And luckily, the ref said, I think you've had enough, kid. Now, how do you explain that feeling? Because there are 2 elements to this. There's one, how you feel as a person. And you're like, I've seen this kid come through everything in his life in boxing. This is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to watch. And I'm there and I'm just diagonally away from his mum, and I can look behind and see his whole family, his cousins, his friends, his everything. I'm sat next to one of his cousins who's filming. I got Tommy Welch behind me. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy emotions when you went there. And that's why I don't know if it came out on TV. Someone said I was on TV hugging him, and that was just from the heart. I didn't know what else to do but to say, you've been here before and you'll be back. Because I genuinely believe that he's a kid who gets better with every setback. But let me tell you, the changing room after a boxer has lost is the maddest place to be, because there is nothing you can do to lift the mood. It is just dark, and everyone looks at each other and goes, look, let's just sit here in silence and feel shit. There's nothing you can do. There's no, you'll be back, you'll be this, you'll be that. Words are all empty at that point because the mission didn't succeed. And people coming in and out of that changing room just feeling awkward, going, oh my God, yeah, let me get out quickly. It's just, there's no feeling like it. Like, I've lost games in other sports, but because there's so many other people involved in that game, it's like, it's not so bad. It's like, okay. And you move on and someone will just bring some beers in and eventually the mood will lighten, right? Not in boxing. And so the coach version of me starts to think and goes, how's he going to sleep tonight? What's he going to be like on Tuesday? What's he going to be like on Wednesday? When everyone's asking, how did you get on? What's he going to be like? Because you care. What's he going to be like when he has to see all of his friends and how do they get on? And, you know, there'll be naysayers who'll be trying to get at him, you know, trying to go, I knew you were no good. And there are people like that. And there are some people who'd love him to lose just so they can tell me that he lost, right? Because they want me to be upset. Life doesn't work that way. And I'm sat there. And we're all there. Me, Courts, Don, Raf, forget RC Pierce's actual name, sorry. But you've got Don Ogilvie as well, the do training guy. He's there. We're all sat in this room and everyone's heartbroken. Right? Everyone's heartbroken. And I can feel tears welling up in my own eyes, genuinely. I'm like, what do you do? What do you say to the kid? Because he'll always be 16-year-old Courtney to me. Always. And so I'm like, what do I say to this guy? Because I know he's going to go home and he's going to overanalyze it and he's going to be distraught for a while. Now, what do you say? I don't know. But yeah, the changing room's just quiet. Everyone just walks out again. And then we try and just get on as normal. But, you know, then you got to talk to all the stakeholders, the promoters, the this, the that, and just, you know, and talk from the heart. And I always do. And I told him, no, he'll be back better and stronger. And I believe he will be. Because the things that need to be fixed can be fixed. And which brings us to the point where most people will go, well, Terry, what do you think went wrong? I don't know if he was fit enough. And like I said, fitness has two components, right? The physical side and the mental side. The mental side is this. Nick Webb's not going to do anything I haven't seen before, right? That's the fitness I really care about, is that you know how to manage yourself in a ring. So you know when to slide your back leg back to let him throw that big right hand and watch it just flow over. And you go, okay, now look out for what's the opening. So when he does that again and you slide back, is it an uppercut that's the opening? Is it a left hook, right? That just comes from reps and intense sparring, right? The second thing for me was there's a lot of decision making where I'm like, we need to change his courts. And instinctively, he should know how to do that now. To go, well, me throwing single and double shots isn't working. Let me try hitting him 3 or 4 times, which he did in round 7, but he was too tired. So he ended up missing and falling into the ropes. But that was the first time Nick was like, what the hell is this? And sometimes you've got to be that 3-4 punch guy, especially in the heavyweight division, because they don't prepare for that. And so this is just me speaking as a coach watching a fight, by the way. So don't read into this any more than what I'm saying. And so we've talked about the fitness. We've talked about the decision making. And then it's just the experience, right? You've heard me say this numerous times. Sometimes the art of being a pro is just the reps. The 4-rounders aren't really there to test you. They're there for the reps. You go there and there's a whole load of cameras. The lights are different. Now the ring's a lot warmer than you're used to because there are more lights. Frank's watching you. Frank's brought all of his mates. Like it's a full house. Mate, just can I just side note this? Because I'd been expecting it to be a standard small hall show, you know, just committed hardcores and so on and so forth. That's what I'd expected, right? So this is how the level of attendee changed from what I thought would be the case to what actually ended up being the case. The first person on God, right? The first person I bump into as I walk into York Hall is this guy.
Just hang on. He's on here. Things on the mingle. Yeah. Right, this is not, I'm not fucking about. I'm fucking dead serious here. Right, really fucking dead serious. You know me, I don't give shit, I don't take shit. Here's how serious I want to be. I'm going to sell fucking gear in my fucking gym, you cheeky twat. I'm not sure. Yeah, no, don't fucking lie to me. You have been giving him gear. I'm shocked at you for selling fucking gear. That's all I think. You don't. Since what? Since yesterday? She said. No, since she said, but you selling it from the fucking house. Now you've been selling from here. I said I'd back you up, Stu.
Yeah, you did.
I said I'd back you up that gym. Fucking forget about the camera. This is business, mate. This is fucking business. Only that I know Chatty and he's related to Chatty. I will fucking flatten you, mate, and put you on the floor, right? But I know you're going to need me to work with you with that prick. Normally, it gets off you, don't it? So from me, point of view, he's buying off you, you're giving it to him, you sell it in my gym. What do I do? Might as well bend over the camera and go, yeah, I'll have a go with that. It's not business, is it?
No, I understand that, John.
It's not business. You've made money, I've earned fuck all. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to tax you £1,000. You can give me £1,000 to keep your job, stay in the gym. If you don't want to give me £1,000, by the end of the day, I'll smash your holiday. I'll smash your holiday.
That's the first guy, Sean Smith. That's the first guy I saw when I came in. Yeah, lovely guy. The guys wrapped around him, not so much so, man. Odd guys. You know, it's one of these things. Like, I don't care where you're from in the country, right? If I come to your city, I'm not playing the tough guy, right? Because I'm outnumbered. And like, they were just playing tough guys, like, I mean, like the people down south can't handle themselves. So that nearly got a bit heated. But Sean Smith, lovely man, absolutely brilliant guy. A lot smaller than I thought he'd be. You know, when you look at someone, you're like, yeah, I don't know if I'd let that guy slap me like that. But then the fact that he's that small and he can do that lets you know he must have been an animal like in his prime. And so there were guys like that were there. Loads of boxing folk were there as well. What I did love about being there was just the Lodge reunion, but we'll come on to that later. The point I was trying to make was the fight we thought we were going to have wasn't the fight that ended up happening, because, you know, you can be used to your call in a certain way, but everything was different that night. You know, of course, it's being announced out by Dev Sani. Shouts out to Dev, what a lovely guy. As being announced out by Dev Sani, there's a whole hullabaloo, you're on TV. That can get to you. I don't care who you are, you're 5 fights in. As Steve Bunce would say, you're a baby at that point. And, you know, I haven't even seen the comms to know what was said. I should probably try that. But I can see why that might have been a step too far. And I'm going to take nothing away from Nick Webb. Nick did what he had to do. Just the little veteran things Nick was able to do. Just use his jab to offset Courtney, throw the big right hand to get him nervous. He was able to manage the psychology of the fight better with that experience. And so it brings me to a conversation I had with Nick afterwards. We had a good chat, actually, because I've known Nick a long time. And Nick's a decent guy. Like, there's nothing to dislike about Nick. This is boxing. Someone has to win, someone has to lose. The first thing he said is, I don't understand why he took this fight. That's what he said. He said, look, I've been in this sport long enough. Like, who takes a Southern area fight after 5? He's like, I thought it was insanity. And then, so Nick said, I thought he's either really special or he's crazy. Right? That's what Nick was saying. I'm paraphrasing, by the way. And he was like, so after the first 3 rounds, he's like, yeah, I wasn't comfortable, but I knew that I was in a fight that I could match power and I could match experience with. And he's like, after that, I felt him starting to fade. And we're talking about the fight, and he just said he can come back. He tried his best, but you can come back from that one as long as he learns the lessons from the fight. And he's like, he kept shaking his head, going, don't always take what's offered on the table. Sometimes it comes with too many strings. And maybe he's right, but, you know, like I said, the boxing business is such that sometimes you got to take these opportunities, and you can get credit in the bank for putting your hand up and taking a risk, because promoters then know he's not going to shy away from the hard fights. And that's really, really important. That's the point when you're trusted by promoters. I look at guys like Denzel Bentley, Dan Aziz, trusted by promoters because they know you can put an opponent in front of them and they'll get ready. And look, you got to thank all the other guys, right? Tommy Walsh was class. What he said probably touched me more than anything else, but he was like, look, I was coming up the same time as Courtney was. I used to watch Courtney and go, wow, he can really, really box. And he was like, I'm a huge Courtney fan. And he said, I thought it was a fight too soon because, look, I know Courtney and I know Nick. He's like, I just felt Courtney probably needed 2 or 3 more fights before he could fight Nick. And we had a good chat. And Tommy gave some constructive advice. He needs to be on TV more. Because his old man's Scott, right? So he's a real boxing person, steeped in it. And you could tell. And we were going back and forth over who was cheering the loudest for Courtney. I think on the broadcast you can hear us two making the most noise. But yeah, I would say what a lovely guy. In terms of the whole show, awesome. I loved it. So massive thanks to Alfie Warren and everyone actually. All the Warrens were really nice to me. Sonny, Frank. Yeah, Frank was nice to me. We had a quick chat, but a good chat. I always like to keep myself on his radar in case I've got someone half decent I need to get signed. Who else was there? So I don't know if it counts as snitching, but I did love the fact that Ed Robinson was there. And I was saying to Ed, are you allowed on enemy turf? But he was there. So obviously said thanks to the Warrens, Alfie, Sonny, and Frank. Good to see Lee Eaton as well. I think he's a madman doing a High Rocks next week, man. That guy's just made of different stuff. If he pulls that one off, he's just made of different stuff. So good to see Lee. And I always say to people, when you go to shows like this is when you realize there's no conflict. People just assume that I have problems with everyone in boxing. But I show up and I'm visible. And all I get is handshakes and chats and how you may enjoy the pod. There's no tension, man. That's just for the internet. In the real world, we all understand how this game works and we play our position. Also nice to see Adrian Martin. Adrian Martin's now a boxing coach, right? Professional boxing coach. He's affiliated to the Peacock now. Huge congratulations. He's jumping around in the ring with Jordan Reynolds. Shows up from Friday night with a big bruise across his nose. I'm like, mate, just enjoy retirement for God's sake. But he's still a young guy who thinks he can fight. Also just loved the Lodge reunion. So having Ed Robinson obviously on enemy turf. Guy Williamson, vice chairman of the British Boxing Board of Control. Lovely man, what a gentleman. I can never speak highly enough of Guy Williamson. So as one of the Lodge elders, man, I always got to tip my hat off to him. The Lodge youngers, so Mo, the new Sudanese kid they got, forget his name, but he's winning stuff. Yusuf was there, 2 Capital Cup champions. I can't believe they're celebrating that title, but hey, it is what it is. And all of you guys know the Boxing Tunes guy, right? The guy that does all the amateur videos. So he was there as well on his photography flex, man. So really good to meet him finally. Jackie Lee Price, another Lodge alumni. She was there representing Shadow Boxer, so her content will be out soon. Follow her, man. I like her. She's got that kind of authentic take on boxing. So follow Shadow Boxer with no E before the R, right? Jackie's lovely. Got a lot of time for Jackie. And, she was magnanimous as well about the whole thing. Also got to shout out, met a guy, Andy, right? He's on holiday from Cyprus. And if your name's not Andy, I'm so sorry. But he's on holiday from Cyprus, and he was telling me that he coordinates his holidays so he can get a couple of boxing shows in. So he's come on holiday to the UK, and he got the Frank Warren show today, and he's going to go and do the Copper Box tomorrow. And I just thought that's brilliant. I love that. He listens to the pod as well. So, love that. Always got love for people who show love as well. Got to shout out Elliot as well. So Elliot Elimasi had his debut, another Lodge boy. Mate, we are absolutely everywhere. And then look, just for context, right? There's one fight I sat through, the Royston Barney one, and I sat with Team Davison. So when people say, you say this about Ben Davison, Ben saw me. I was right there, man. I was sat. There's Junior, another Lodge guy. The McCormacks were there. I think Joshua's mate Ben Heine was there. A load of these guys were there. Moses Atalma was there as well. Well, what a thoroughly nice guy, man. Moses Atalma, nice guy, absolute giant. He's still growing, it looks like, man. That's scary, the fact that that guy is still growing. So also got to shout out some of the officials. So Ben Harmsworth, who's head coach at Guildford ABC, obviously doing his board duties. Not sure if he was supervisor this time. Dan Frost as well. I don't know if Dan's whip or if he's a supervisor. So all of these guys, man, it brings my amateur world, pro boxing world, podcast world all come together in one night, which was lovely. Good crowd of people. Loads of listeners to the pod. The love was nice. Really, really enjoyed being out in general. Obviously, the fight didn't go the way that I wanted, but such is the nature of the beast. Look, for context, right? Look at young Tommy Fletcher. Like, he went into that fight expecting to win. Tommy Fletcher got outmanned in there. You know, like, no resistance. Didn't go out swinging, like, none of that. And he's going to go home now devastated. Right? Devastated. And how's he going to sleep? How's he going to be able to talk to all those people who were wishing him well and say, oh, it didn't go as well as I thought? How's he going to do that? You know, look at Alois Jr., who was meant to, I think he was meant to fight him next. That fight's gone down the toilet. Now he's got to fight I think it's the Latvian guy that beat Tommy. And now Tommy's got to find a way to rebuild. You know, and people are going to be in his ear go, you need to change trainers, you need to do this, you need to do that. You know, you hear all the wrong advice, and Tommy's got to do what's best for him. And so, yeah, it's humbling, man. Like, you can have all the buzz in the world, but that wrong fight at the wrong time can derail you a bit. But it's about coming back strong and coming back determined to win and determined to avenge. And that's really what matters, guys. On God. That's what really matters, is that ability to come back. And I know with some key changes, Courtney will come back stronger. He'll come back better. He'll come back as someone that the British boxing public can believe in with absolute certainty. And I think the key to that is just tapping into what he's good at. Yeah, he's unusual, an atypical heavyweight. He's a combination punching heavyweight who has a high ring IQ. As long as those things are leveraged, he'll be all good. You know, keep the defense sharp, keep it focused. He'll be all good. You know, God, I feel better finishing the pod than I did when I started. But guys, just understand that it's hard. Like, when anyone you care about goes through something like this, it's just hard because you almost wish you could take it for them. But now it's up to him to find those reserves of character to come back even stronger, and he can do that. So on that note, let me say, take care, guys. And as always, if you enjoyed the show, share it. Make sure other people also enjoy it too. But like I said, I will always be as transparent about others as I am about my own situation in boxing. Take care.